Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Um, Today's my topic is how to use physiological measures for selections of sensory tools for emotion regulations. Especially, this is for people with developmental disabilities. When we're talking about emotion regulations, do you have any favorite tools that you love to use? Anyone here would think that or would try that massage is relaxing for you? Can you raise up your hand? Massage. Anybody like massage? Find it relaxing. Anybody find listening to soft music is relaxing? How many of you would think that massage is not your preference? Me. Yeah. How many of you like to hear rock music, heavy metals? Yeah. We have different preference. How you know it works for you to upregulate, making you more aroused, alert? What makes you more calm and stay focused? You know it because you know your feeling. But when we come to children with their mental disability, they cannot communicate with us well, so that we don't know from the appearances about their arousal. For example, here I got 4 pictures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 people. If I ask you a question from the outside, who is having high arousal? Who is having low arousal? You may immediately point out that they are the person having low arousal. They could be having high, right? But how about if I ask you who may be in freezed status, which means that they are dissociate because of too stress, or they are just too much sensory input at a time that overwhelmed that they just shut down. Cool. Maybe it's they. But are we just talking about they have low arousal? Now we are talking about they may be freezed, which means high arousal. Another example, who may be hyperactive? We think that they may be hyperactive, right? And this doesn't really look like hyperactive at this moment. But we know that children with ADHD, a lot of research coming us telling us that they are having low arousal. Wait a minute. At the first slide, we're talking about they are having high arousal. So what actually is their arousal? We don't know from the outside. So how about let's look at the inside, what's happening physiologically in our body. To look at arousal, we have to understand about the system called sympathetic nervous system, which is part of the autonomic nervous system. Sometimes we are just not understand this enough. We think that it's just for fight. But actually, it's not just about fight. If you do not have the sympathetic nervous system waken up and activated, what you would be doing here? Sleeping or very low tone, or even cannot respond to me anymore. So we do need some input from the sympathetic nervous system to keep us aroused and alert. But we don't want too much, or we don't want it to come from fear, anxiety, or different kinds of negative emotion that border our life. So we want to measure it to see what's happening inside. How to measure it? When we're talking about the sympathetic, we always also want to talk about the parasympathetic. But sometimes it makes the information confusing. When we look at different measures of sympathetic response, for example, the pupil dilation, the heart speed, the breathing rate, all of the things that I just mentioned are both affected by sympathetic and parasympathetic. So how about when we want to just measure the sympathetic side, the arousal side, we can measure the sweat scan. It is the part that's only innervated by the sympathetic nervous system. This is our sweat scan. Our sweat, we have different parts of the body that will respond to environmental temperatures and body temperatures that will change our sweat production. But we also know that from research telling us that the parts near the hands or around on the hands are more sensitive to emotions, especially when we are in a condition with controlled factors of humidity and temperature. This is an amazing measure for emotion and arousals. Research telling us that, for example, here comes the three group of children. Children with ASD, typical children is the blue in color, and the children with sensory moderation disorder is in the green bar. Across different sensory input, we know that those with sensory moderation disorder, particularly in this group, is about hyperreactivity. They got more response in the hands. And for ASD, they also got more. But for the typical group, they seems got less. But it's not all the sensory input giving the same input for this group of subject. You can see that visual actually stimulating more in the typical group than the visual. But is it the same for all children with autism? Is it the same for all people with sensory integration problem? If I'm a clinician working with children with autism and sensory integration disorder day by day, we know that everyone is different. Here is another research. In a sensory integration room, just in case you didn't ever visit one, it is a room with different kinds of hanging equipments, movement opportunities, tactile touch opportunities, and visual and auditory opportunities over there. Let them to have child-centered intervention. During these interventions, it is found that the electrothermal activities when this child playing the scooter board over the ramp, that is more arousing. And for here, it's about in the ball pit, ball pool is calming for these children. And for these children, chewing on the chewing gum and blowing bubble is calming. And rock calming is arousing for this boy. With the measure like this, we can know about each activities, how it affects the arousal level. But can we really do it in the environment? There are different kind of tools allow us to do this. But today I want to share about the case. If you want to see a demo later after the presentation, I can show you the demo. But why we need to measure? For example, this is case one. We may encounter children that always jumping, crashing into people, jumping from heights and talk loudly. Without thinking twice, we almost want to jump to the conclusion that they may be overexcited. If we conclude they are overexcited, we would prescribe calming strategies, right? But wait a minute, let's do some measurements. For this case one, we see that they jump a lot and talk loudly when their electrothermal activities is 0.55. But they are more calm. This boy is more calm and organized, stay on task, doing the work when the EDA is rising up to around 13 or 14. So what's telling us here? This child do not need calming strategies. What does this child need? It needs arousing, up-regulating strategies. Once the arousal go down, he starts to jump a lot and talk loudly again. So with the data, we change our hypothesis. We may prescribe some things like moving chairs or moving opportunities like this to help them to have break time that's embedded with a lot of movement. Case two, this boy frequently have temper tantrum when they come back from home, maybe after some sport activities. We may also like to conclude or hypothesize that there's too much stimulation after the sport activities or during the sport activities, or the child simply don't want to go home. With this hypothesis, we may use these strategies, more preparation time, behavioral strategies, or give them less sports activities because they're just overwhelming. But again, wait a minute, less measures. For this guy, after the activities actually done here, and arrive home is here. The time they're having temper tantrum is here. So what we see is something happened after the activities and before he arrived home. So what's happening? When we talk to parents, oh, it's nothing. Just take the MTR. Is MTR overwhelming? Did you ever try MTR in peak hours? If no, if you did try it, it won't surprise you. It overwhelmed the child so that when he come home, he have temper, he get tantrum. So with this understanding, we are no longer prescribing those strategies before. We give them headphones to cover some noise. We may give them color glasses to help them to filter some of the sensory input from the environment. So this is how the data drive off in a different decision making. How we know what works well? It could be tactile, it could be lighting. It is in the sensory integration section, in the treatment section, we try different strategies, and then we see the numbers go down. This is about calming. The same things also happen when it comes to arousing, alerting. We try it, it works, and then we teach the parents, we let the teachers know, so that this can inform their practice in daily life. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you.